Parrying is one of my favorite mechanics in video games, so I created this series to highlight the games that use this mechanic as well as analyze how well they're implemented. A parry can be a high-risk, high-reward defensive and offensive tool that ranges from low to high skill ceiling depending on the game. Executing a parry requires reading visual and audio cues and precise timing. I believe there are a few key ingredients to designing a great parry: effective application, high quality animation, and crisp sound design. In this episode of Art of the Parry, I am examining Resident Evil 4 Remake. Resident Evil 4 Remake is a horror survival game, and to be honest, it's a little bit more action than horror, but that doesn't matter to me because it's one of my favorite games of all time. In the remake, Capcom introduced a new mechanic that wasn't in the original: parrying. Adding parrying improved the game by introducing another element that modernizes it. Now, this will be a basic breakdown most likely because there isn't a super deep system behind the parrying in Resident Evil 4 like other games I've covered in this series. But in Resident Evil 4, parrying still has a very high use application. It's simple but very effective, and in this series I want to cover the whole spectrum of games that use parry mechanics, whether it's intricate, simple, new, old. So let's talk about it. To parry in Resident Evil 4 Remake, you need a knife. There are different knife types in the game which degrade over time and some break over time from use. Your main knives will need to be repaired by the merchant in order to be used again after breaking. If you beat Resident Evil 4 on professional difficulty using only pistols, you will be rewarded with an unbreakable knife called the Primal Knife, which I am using in this video. In Resident Evil 4, there are two parries, a standard parry and a perfect parry. Both parries nullify damage. A standard parry blocks an attack, but typically requires 3 consecutive successful parries to stagger an enemy for a follow-up. The perfect parry will stun an enemy, leaving them open for an attack. You will know the enemy is stunned based on their animation or the obvious white circle prompt above their head that says melee. The basic parry is performed by parrying in early frames of the attack, and the perfect parry will occur when you parry right before the attack lands. You can parry most but not all attacks in Resident Evil 4. There are some enemy attacks that can only be avoided or evaded. There is a great variety of enemy weapons in RE4, both projectile and melee weapons, such as throwing knives, arrows, pitchforks, shovels, and stun rods. But my favorite thing to parry is the thing that makes absolutely no sense, which is why it's my favorite: the chainsaw. One of the things I noticed that you cannot perfect parry is the flail. This can only be basic parried. Now, I've beaten Resident Evil 4 many times. I'm talking about the original and the remake. But up until recently, there's something that I had no idea you could parry: snakes. In Resident Evil, if you open certain boxes, there will be snakes hidden inside. And if you don't kill them in time, they'll lunge towards you and bite you and just inflict a tiny amount of damage. But you can actually parry these lunges. Another quick note, I did extensive research into this. Something else you can't parry? RPGs. I know, unfortunate.
This isn't good.
Parrying also functions as a great crowd control technique in RE4 because if you stun one enemy and then you land a melee attack, that can knock down the other members of the group if they're close enough. If you parry an enemy that's not holding a weapon, you can literally disarm them.
Sorry.
Lastly, you can even parry some advanced and boss level enemies such as Las Plagas Mandibula, Garradors, Regenerators, and even Lord Sadler himself.
Your remote's lapdog.
World shall become one through the
Now the parry timing depends on the difficulty you're playing on, the enemy, and the attack, but overall, it's not easy enough that you're going to land every single parry, but it's not difficult enough that you're going to miss most of your parries either. Visual parrying in RE4 is pretty easy and intuitive because the animations are well designed and thorough. You can completely react based on what you see and will most likely land the parry. When you land a parry, you will see sparks fly from the weapon collision and a melee prompt appear above their head. Another way to know if the parry window is open is by looking at the bottom right of the screen because the button prompt to parry will appear. But looking at the bottom of the screen and taking your eyes off the enemy is not something you want to rely on. When Leon performs a standard parry, there are certain enemy attacks that can send him reeling backwards and open up his defensive stance and kind of leaves him stunned for a second. When he performs a perfect parry, it looks like an upward knife strike that breaks open the enemy's defense. When Leon performs a perfect parry on a melee attack, you will hear a loud metal clashing sound. There is also a sound distinction between a standard parry and a perfect parry. It is subtle but noticeable. The standard parry sounds like a knife making contact with a blunt object, and the perfect parry sounds like the knife swiftly cutting through another piece of metal.
Must have slipped.
I love the parry sound overall because it's like the classic, somewhat high-pitched sound of a sharp object colliding with another. It's really hard to find much wrong with the parry system in Resident Evil 4. It doesn't necessarily have a lot of depth, but it can be used as a defensive or offensive measure in the majority of situations in the game, ranging from normal enemies to boss fights. It is easy to parry based on visual and audio cues, and it's just really fun to do because it really doesn't make any sense that he's able to parry these attacks with a 8-inch combat blade. So I give the parry system in Resident Evil 4 a B+. If there's any detail I missed about the parrying in Resident Evil 4, or if there's a game that you would like me to cover for an episode of Art of the Parry, let me know in the comment section. Until then, keep parrying.
Not bad. Major, do not think thinking straight.
Oh, my mind's clearer than it's ever been. Now focus and show me what you got.
Soldier like you. Why would you work for these freaks?
Why? Have you forgotten what happened 2 years ago?
Operation Javier?
Operation Javier. My entire unit wiped out. Our own government let it happen. Is that all you got? Get ready. I thought I'd get to spar with your soft ass again. Just like I taught you. I know your every move. You learn them from me. Your bad habits are gonna cost you your life. Anything these last 2 years? I expected more out of you, rookie. Let's see it, rookie. They killed us all without honor, without mercy. Only devastating power. What's wrong? The same for myself.
Krauser! I can understand. What happened was unforgivable. But that doesn't give you the right to hurt innocent people.
You're still a kid, holding on to fantasies of what's right and wrong. What's wrong? Looking too steady.
Shit. You don't leave me with much choice.
Enough chit-chat, rookie. Time to put an end to this.
And here's a teaser for the next episode.